Welcome to the Sober Boozers Club podcast, a place where we can talk openly and honestly about addiction, sobriety, and strangely enough, beer. I'm Ben, I'm an alcoholic, and for the last 2 years I've been sampling some of the finest alcohol-free beers the world has to offer. Each week, I'll be joined by a different guest to discuss their own lived experiences on all things related to the world of low and no alcohol beverages. So pour yourself a tipple, relax, and let me welcome you to the Sober Boozers Club. In today's episode, I'm joined by Rob Jones, who is the co-owner of Below Brew Co. Now, you might not have heard of Below Brew Co before, but you've almost definitely heard of Low Tide if you've ever had an alcohol-free beer. And they're the same company, it's just a different name. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk a little bit about what made them want to start the business and all things related to the world of alcohol-free beer. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I certainly did. And we'll go over to it right about now. So Rob, hello. Thank you very much for coming to join me on it's a relatively sunny afternoon for me. I don't know if it is for you.
It is definitely not. In Bath, it is miserable and raining.
Oh no. But at least you've got a nice array of buildings to look at and lots of hills.
Well, you would say that, but the place where I live in Bath, the street is lovely. It's a lovely little area. We've got a little canal at the end of the street. There's a bakery, Electric Bear Brewery's just around the corner. We've got a beautiful little bougie pub at the end of the street as well. But directly behind me is Love Honey.
Oh, okay.
So my old office, which is now occupied by my youngest, it overlooks the warehouse, so it's not exactly the
not
the
ideal
one of sites. But
have you ever considered a collab?
I don't even know what it would be.
Neither do I, but it's something.
Yeah, that's true. You probably could. I don't know. I've never thought of that.
That's one for the future. 10% is all I ask.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We can sort that out, mate. I've heard you want the swing, so that's all good.
I've already got two. You've recently gone through a bit of a transformation, haven't you? So let's address that elephant in the room. And what happened there?
So way back when we first started, obviously we were Low Tide. We did it as one word. I guess we were perhaps a tiny bit naive. We knew there was things kind of knocking around, but we just wanted to crack on. It was sort of like a little fun side project that was sort of just something that we were doing in our spare time and something that we enjoyed. And then it sort of progressed quite seriously quite quickly.
Yeah.
And then coming into this year, we've been sort of talking about it for about a year previously. And coming into this year, we were just saying that we managed to lock in some investment, which was great, and we were kind of taking things to the next level. We were getting in a salesperson and really starting to push things, and we were like, are we gonna sort of hang around and wait for potentially someone to be like, we have this trademark, can you cease and desist?
Right,
basically. And then we've also wanted to sort of expand into other countries, and there's a Low Tide in brewing company in, I think it's Maine.
It's South Carolina, I think, but don't quote me on that because I'm often wrong about most things. But I think it's South Carolina.
Yeah. So we must have, like, between my business partner and I, we must have spitballed maybe like 50 or 60 different names, kind of thinking, do we try and keep low in it? Do we go like low rise or low time and stuff like that? And in the end, when we first started, we always wanted to have kind of a bit of a sea theme with Low Tide and sort of the waves. And our first beer we released was a sort of an ironic dipper that had like this lady swimming with some manta rays, and we called it Dipper Towing. And pretty much straight after that, we're not going to do puns of sea themes for every single one. That seems a bit much. So we thought about Below Brew Co. It kind of sort of keeps it's like below 0.5, but below the waves kind of thing. So that's kind of where we sort of landed on. We got a trademark for it, and we thought, let's change quickly than wait a few years and then then
Yeah,
change
yeah, it's like
maybe more
preempting it,
established.
isn't it?
Yeah,
And I think it's a good time to be doing something like that and kind of to refresh everything at the same time as, obviously you said potentially legal difficulties going forward, but I feel like the industry is in such a good place right now for
yeah,
to get on it and be like, okay, this is fresh, this is new, this is exciting. Because I've been there before with bands where
mm.
we've been kind of going along for a few years and it's been going quite well, and then it doesn't feel stale, but you feel like, okay, something new would be nice now. So
Mm.
what can we do? So it kind of maybe a bit serendipitous that it's happened at this time for you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. It's been fun to sort of get into it and design and sort of
Yeah,
evolve the logo. I'm sorry if you can hear my children. They've just come back from school,
that's
preschool.
okay. That's okay. I've
Um,
got a house full today.
there you go.
So we'll see. It'll ring doorbells and things. It's always the joy of doing it in the afternoon on a weekday, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's-
So yeah, it was good, and it was a good time to sort of refresh our website as well. My business partner is actually my cousin,
mhm.
and his brother is an excellent photographer.
Nice.
Does that as sort of his a videographer for his work. So he's sort of helping us produce, fresher, newer content as well, which is good. So
Mhm.
we're sort of adding that into the website and bits. So yeah, it's been fun.
It's
It's been
fun,
fun
isn't
to
it, when
kind
you
of
get to do the kind of the creative things again and kind of refresh everything and really
mm,
figure out what you want to put out to the world. I bet that's one of the fun parts of
yeah,
owning
definitely. And
a business like this.
yeah, exactly, and that's kind of, I guess, alluding to what I said before we hit recording, that I'm an interior architect by trade, so I
Hmm.
quite like the design sort of element of things. I can really sort of get into it, so it's great to sort of my teeth into that and sort of work on the whole brand and seeing how it will sort of go on to glasses and
Yeah.
t-shirts and hats and cans and all sorts
Yeah,
of
that's
different
the kind
things.
of thing I think if I owned a business like that, I think I'd get very carried away very quickly.
Oh, it's very easy to get carried away, and
I can
certainly
imagine.
my business partner would attest to that. And he's very good at well, I wouldn't say winding me in, but certainly
Talking
managing
you down.
managing my excitement for things. He's very good at that. I think if he wasn't part of the business, I would have probably put it under long ago, just by wanting to just do all the merchandise.
Now, Below Brew Co, of course, as we've discussed, is in its infancy really as a new company. Low Tide, of course, was going for quite a bit longer.
3 years.
Okay.
Yeah. 3 years. It was 3 years in January.
Hmm.
But maybe the people won't realize that as much, as because I'd say we've probably been around. We were probably one of the longest running guys without like a real substantial investment.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and it certainly, in part, it was obviously our beers were sort of really popular, but it was also in part to my business partner's finance savvy skills.
Hmm.
He's been instrumental in sort of making sure that we make the right business decisions with the money that we had, and we didn't really pay ourselves until pretty much this year.
Wow.
It was just kind of any pretty much most of the stuff that we earned, we put straight back into the business and stuff. We didn't have a team. It was always just him and I. So he was the sort of more the finance side and sort of helping with the direction of the business, whereas I was doing the beers
Hmm.
and the sales. So we've never really had a team or a huge amount of money behind us to push.
Yeah.
It's just kind of just been working hard at it whilst balancing other jobs and stuff, which I guess
Yeah.
is
Yeah. Yeah.
perhaps why.
So,
Um,
what was it that made you kind of want to set it up as a business? Like, did you see that there was a gap in the market in terms of
mm.
alcohol-free beer? Was it something that you were kind of dabbling in? Or what was it that kind of lit that fire under your belly to go, right, let's make a business and let's do it?
So we But at that time when we were just about to set up something, we were both working in London, and we would meet up at Green Park Station, Green Park, um, and just have lunch and sort of chat about things. We were just wanting to do something for ourselves, and we sort of hit on alcohol-free beer in general, and we wanted to sort of try and we wanted to set up like a beer subscription website, and but you could also buy all the beers, a bit like Beer 52, I guess, although they're a bit of a sore subject at this moment in time in terms of what happened with Ibria. But so we set up something called Crafty AF, and that was an alcohol-free beer place. Basically, we really like craft beer, but obviously we wanted to sort of apply some moderation. I've got 3 kids and stuff. You can't be going out on a bender every weekend. You've got to sort of try and chill it out a bit. So we set up that. We imported beers from around the world, really. A lot of stuff from Poland, as you can imagine. They've got some great stuff, but stuff from Australia, Austria as well. And what we quickly realized at that time, because we're talking like, I think it was like 2018 or 19, I can't remember. We realized that what we wanted actually wasn't there, and that was really just a craft brewery. 440ml cans, beautiful can artwork, interesting beer styles. I mean, I'm not saying that there weren't stuff around, but it didn't feel like there was the craft beer scene for alcohol-free beer at the time that we set up. There was Nirvana and Big Drop and Lucky Saint were just sort of getting going then, which are all great. They've all paved the way for us, but we wanted to be like more craft orientated. And that's basically why we set up. We were like, okay, let's work on this and let's start releasing beer. So we've done obviously we haven't done the amount of releases that Mash Gang have done, but we've done I think we'd released about 18 beers. I mean, certainly in our first year we released like 13 in our first year.
That's pretty good going, though. Like, it's more than a beer a month. 13.
Yes,
because I mean, Mash Gang are just ridiculous. Like the amount that comes out, I can't keep up with it.
No, it's a lot, but they're doing some fantastic stuff for the alcohol-free scene in general. So it's certainly a good thing that you can't keep up, because there was a point where you didn't really have anything to choose from.
Yeah, I think I got sober at the perfect time, because if I'd have gone maybe 2 years earlier than I did, I'd have been in a whole world of trouble with Beck's Blue and Heineken and the like.
Yeah, exactly. It's a whole new world now, for sure. For sure.
Yeah,
I think just going back to my business partner, making sure that we were on the straight and narrows. That was mainly me being excited, getting so many beers released, and then we've then re-looked at the business model, and we're like, okay, let's set out a core range that we're sort of dedicated to, really concentrating on making those great, having a really good variety that sort of cater to a lot of people's tastes. We've got a honeycomb chocolate pastry stout, but we've also got a hoppy pilsner. We've got a West Coast pale, we've got a juicy pale, that sort of thing. We've even got a Belgian brown ale for those sort of more rich taste buds out there.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like having a really solid core range and then having little special releases every now and again that feel really special.
Exactly.
Some of the collabs as well. I think collabs are such a great thing, because the amount of new breweries that I've discovered through collabs, it's great.
Well, one of the reasons we wanted to be set up was because we wanted to be perceived as a craft brewery first, and then an alcohol-free brewery second. And in my opinion, it doesn't matter whether you're alcohol-free or not; you're still a craft brewery. And we've been starting to get invited to craft beer festivals. So we got invited to Beaks last year. We've got one in Liverpool this year and one in Nottingham. We went to one in Finland as well. Kind of what I'm getting at here is that at these festivals, you start to see the same people kind of going to these festivals, and there is a real camaraderie within that. You know, it's a very family orientated almost scene. You know, and I would even go to say is I don't actually think it is as much yet in the alcohol free as it is in the full strength brewing scene, and that's mainly because I think that a lot of the breweries have alcohol free breweries have been set up by people, I guess, like myself, that haven't necessarily come from the beer scene. They're more kind of graphic designers or interior architects, or from finance backgrounds and whatever. Because I can't really name many collabs of alcohol free breweries and alcohol free breweries. I can't think of one right now.
Oh, you've put me on the spot now. I'm literally just trying to go through the because I know you did one with Attic, but they're not alcohol free.
No, they're not. No.
Mash Gang have done so many collabs, but
I don't think they've done one with another alcohol free brewery. Hint, hint, Mash Gang.
That's a very good point.
Together?
Well, I know that Sam from We Can Be Friends wants to collab. So maybe one will exist soon.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. That's what I was kind of getting at. It's like we actually haven't really sort of intermingled with each other, because it's great for us, like alcohol-free breweries, to collaborate with high strength beers or high strength breweries, because you are getting eyes on your beers that wouldn't maybe necessarily look to your beers. You know?
Absolutely. I think that's a good thing for the AF industry, certainly.
Yeah, and more often than not, let's be honest, a full strength brewery is probably going to have more followers than us.
Yes, often.
Yeah,
I've noticed, and maybe again it's just me kind of interacting with more beer folk, but this January in particular seemed to be a lot of people from let's call it the full fat beer world, really taking part in kind of the dry January's incentive to keep drinking beer but make it alcohol free. I don't know if you noticed a major kind
definitely
of upturn this year compared to, let's say, last year even.
It's going to keep on going like that, to be honest. I think the breweries are seeing that there's a need to at least accommodate that category. It's a chunk of business that they're just basically missing out on. So our collaboration beer that we've just done with Electric Bear, they were actually, I think we released our second beer with them when we first started, A Pale of Two Cities. It was great, and it's really took us ages to kind of get the stars aligned to do it together again. So we did that, and the reason we did that is because it's sort of been made on the intent that is going to be landing into their core range. So they will have a core range alcohol free, which is their unruly AF or our unruly AF in their core range. And it's a good thing for them to do that, because you've only got to look at like Bristol as an example, and in Bristol, I can think of 3 breweries in Bristol that have a full-time alcohol free in their range, and Bristol's only a hop and a skip away from Bath.
Of course.
And you've got like Wiper and True, they've got 2. You've obviously got Bristol Beer Factory's Clearhead, which is their best-selling beer, and then you've got one at Good Chemistry as well. So I do think more and more breweries are cottoning on to the fact that it might be a good idea to.
I'm kind of at the point now where if I find a new brewery, I don't kind of go on thinking, oh, I wonder if they'll have anything alcohol free. If anything now, if they don't, it's kind of
surprising.
shocking. which is nice that it's got to that point.
Mm.
How do you think that affects the industry as a whole? Do you think that all new products are good for everybody, or do you think that there's a point where competition becomes not an issue, but maybe a worry?
It's a bit of a chicken and egg sort of thing, really, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
like it's great to have more eyes on the scene as a whole. You know, it's going to get people interested. Someone might go to track and try their new Sonoma alcohol free,
hmm
and then they'll be like, "Oh, actually, alcohol free beer tastes pretty good now. What other ones are there?" And then they
yeah,
might research it. They might find Below Brew Co, Ash Gang, Lucky Saint, whatever, and sort of they might start a journey. But then obviously then you look at it a different way, and it's obviously taking a piece of the alcohol-free pie, so to
yeah, yeah,
speak.
yeah.
But there's so many places that we could sell to, especially with alcohol-free. You don't need a premises license, so you could literally just sell to anywhere, like hairdressers, if you really wanted.
Yeah.
So it's fine that like, and it's great that there's eyes on the scene, but at the same time, it doesn't really hugely take much away from your selling capabilities because of how many there are
Yeah,
around
I think that's the thing, isn't it?
sell
Like,
to.
there really is no kind of limit to how far this explosion can spread of
Mm,
alcohol-free beers. I was talking to Andy from Alcohol Free Drinks Company about all the
mhm,
places that he will distribute alcohol-free beer in keg form to like rugby clubs and places that I would
mhm.
never have assumed would be doing an alcohol-free option.
Well,
Um,
Twickenham has a whole section now that's alcohol free, isn't it? Didn't they
wow.
try that at one of the recent matches? And there was a bit of a hoo ha because they didn't actually tell the people that had
Yes, I
booked
do remember
tickets.
seeing that actually. Now you've mentioned that they didn't tell anybody.
I can understand why someone might be a bit pissed off if that happened, to be fair.
Yeah,
But like at the same time, let's not detract away from the fact that it's great that they started it and they tried to do it. You know, it's
yeah, definitely.
a
Because
good thing.
I'd never really thought about just how many people it was for. Like as
Mm,
an alcoholic, it's kind of like, oh yeah, this is for me. But actually,
mm.
it goes so much further, doesn't it? Like people that are driving to events, people that are
Yeah,
just not wanting to drink that day.
it's everything. It's everything. Ladies that are pregnant.
hmm
It's people that are drinking it after running a marathon. We sponsored a marathon in Bath and had our beers at the end as like essentially an isotonic drink.
Yeah,
Um, as you said, driving. Just recovering alcoholics. Maybe just because they just don't really fancy like having a beer. I
hmm
know people like my mum doesn't really drink. She's never really wanted to.
yeah.
But there's good to have options that aren't Coke, you know.
Yes,
Yeah,
orange juice or
yeah, yeah. I mean,
J2O.
I love J2O 100.
I like a J2O, but I
Yeah, it's
drink it
pretty
so
good.
quickly. That's for
Yeah, you
like,
do. You chug it back, don't you?
yeah, I don't know why with J. It's for me, it's J2O and pineapple juice. Like
Oh,
I
fair
think
enough.
I can consume those two things quicker than anything else in the world.
Yeah,
Weird.
that's
It's really
enough.
weird.
Now, not in the past.
Yeah, yeah. Historically, that's probably not accurate. That would be whiskey and
Yeah,
cheap pints.
yeah. But now you're into it big time. But we've started doing kegs.
Nice.
We don't do too many on a run. We do like 20.
hmm
But there are certain places. It's a place in Bristol that takes a fair few. They take like 8 kegs of ours, and they shift it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It's there's the people out there that
Yeah,
want it.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, I've said historically, I'm pretty sure some pubs by me I keep in business, and that's
Mm,
just because they do Lucky Saint on draft. Um,
mm,
and if they did something, I mean, I like Lucky Saint. I think Lucky Saint is great.
you do,
But
yeah.
as I've progressed through my kind of journey into the world of alcohol-free beer, I'd like more than just Lucky Saint on draft.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
because
yeah.
Lucky
I know
Saint
what you
feels
mean.
it's nice, but it's got to the point where for me it feels like I don't know how to say it without it sounding detrimental to the product, but it feels like an alcoholic's drink. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I'll have a Lucky Saint because I'm a boozer. Whereas
yeah, yeah, yeah.
if I could have other beers like one of yours on a keg, I'll have one of those, please. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
this is a special pint. This is a fancy pint.
yeah. Well, with that, we're kind of getting onto something that I think is probably going to become very, very prevalent in like the next 5 years, and we're at the point now where pubs and bars and restaurants are getting into getting a alcohol-free option on tap, right? And it's a bit like when you go to some establishments and they have like one vegan option or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like they'll soon realize that actually they probably should have a variety, and you might end up seeing very soon that there might be 50% of it on draft is alcohol-free, 50% of it is full fat, as we just agreed upon to say. That's kind of, I think that's the next stage that we're going to see. It feels like things are progressing a lot quicker. And you're right, it'd be nice to have a variety. You might want to have a macro pint of alcohol free, but you also might want some a little more bougie. And that's kind of the next step, having a macro pint on offer. So like a Stella, but then also going in and be able to have maybe one of ours or like a Verdun, kind of thing.
It's nice that we're seeing more kind of independent breweries get kegs to places before Heineken. Like I've seen Heineken on draft, but only in like the little mini kegs at the back of the bar that always taste like
the blades.
Yes.
Are they called blades? I think.
Yes, I think they are, but
Yeah.
I mean, Blade, they're just fucking awful.
Yeah.
Like I can't finish a pint of that. And
Oh, really?
I think what Heineken, and I get quite cross about Heineken, I think what they are doing is so detrimental to the whole movement of alcohol-free beer. And this is me coming at it from an alcoholic's perspective now. Because for me, I've said multiple times, alcohol-free beer saved my life. And it did.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, they don't touch it and that's fine. But for me, if it didn't exist and it wasn't good, I would have tried to continue moderating, and that would have been very dangerous. So if there's anybody like that out there that isn't as stubborn as me, and their first drink that they try is Heineken, and it's just not up to scratch, in my opinion, I think it's awful. It's going to put them off, and that's quite dangerous. And I just think that with how much the industry has grown, the technology has progressed, and there's recipes out there that are really fucking good. To not revisit what they do, I think is abhorrent. And that's me on a high horse. But I just think that when there's such a big company, when they first came about, great, they spent years researching it, and what they put out when they first put something out was probably better than 90% of what was available.
Of course,
Whereas
but they've kind of just kept it as it is. Maybe they haven't. Maybe we're just talking shit and they're going to moan about us.
Maybe they've actually made it worse, and that's what's gone on. They've tried to make it better.
I think it's interesting you said, because it kind of sort of switched something in my brain too, and it's all to do with what's come before with alcohol free in terms of Beck's Blue, Peroni, Heineken, and that's price point. There is this thought process in alcohol free, which doesn't quite compute. Is alcohol? It's alcohol free, therefore it should be cheaper. Or because it is, we don't pay the tax on it. Well, we might not pay the tax on it, but I absolutely guarantee you we pay more. Well, the same, if not more, in different techniques to make sure that the beer is shelf stable. We do everything else the same. It's brewed exactly the same. Obviously not exactly the same because there's no alcohol, but and then with the amount of pushback we sometimes receive is like, oh, we pay less than this for full strength beers. Well, why will we pay that? And I think that's something to do with what's come before with Heineken and Beck's, because people expect it to be, they can expect to buy it for like 80p or 90p in cents or whatever.
I've had conversations like that with people from the sober community, but refuse to buy kind of craft alcohol free because of the price of it. And it's like, look, that's fine, but it's a treat. It's a treat. Like, to have a nice beer it's nice. You know, like you pay
Yeah.
more for craft alcohol beer than you do for a can of Foster's, and so you should, because there's a world of difference.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess you're then sort of then leaning onto it a bit, like if you don't want to pay a good price point for something, then you wanted to pay as cheap as possible to get as drunk as possible. Basically, that's kind of really it.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I still drink full fat beers, and I'd much prefer to have a very very decent
Hmm.
craft beer than going to the local spa and getting a 4 pack of Fosters for £4.
Yeah.
You know, I'd
Yeah,
rather have kind of something
I
really
mean,
nice
I
than
was the same until like 2 pints deep. Well, 3 pints deep, let's be fair to myself. I liked, I loved beer. I
mm,
really loved beer. My issue was I also loved alcohol.
mm,
Um, so I'd have 3 pints of fancy stuff, and then it would be like,
mm.
right, Red Stripe, let's get on it.
Yeah,
Because you could get so many cans of Red Stripe for like 10p.
yeah,
And then it
yeah,
was just, the night became whatever it became, which was often problematic. So
yeah.
going into sobriety, it was like, how can I never drink beer again? Because it became
Mm,
part of my identity. Like, yeah, I love beer. I like talking about beer. Beer is kind of what I'm into. Um,
mm.
and it was kind of, yeah, but the two didn't go very well together, which was a
Yeah,
shame. But it is important to remember that, not everybody that drinks full fat beer is an alcoholic. When people that make alcohol free beer still drink full fat
mm,
beer, because
mm.
you've got to know what it tastes like, man.
This is what
Like,
this is what I say as well. It's like how are we supposed to? It might sound like I'm trying to make an excuse, but like how are we supposed to make a decent beer if we don't really know what it's supposed to be
yeah,
tasting
yeah, yeah.
like? You know, it's
Yeah, because your
it's
taste buds do change. I mean, this is a
mm.
story that might get me cancelled by the sober community, and I'll never become a Alcohol Change UK ambassador, which is, of
Millie won't
course,
let you
my
now,
end
mate.
goal.
Sorry.
But I was at a wedding a while back with my girlfriend, and there was alcohol-free Corona and full-fat Corona, and I was like, "Oh, okay, but it's fine, I can
Mm,
deal with that. It's not my wedding. I can't
mhm,
make a scene." Um, and just out of curiosity, I said to my girlfriend, like, give me your bottle. I just want to see. Like, so I had a little swig, spat it out, and it just tasted of chemicals.
mhm,
Like, it was like, like when you're 12 years old and your dad lets you have a bottle of Grolsch. Well, maybe
mm.
not 12, 14 years old, let's say. And your dad gives you like a bottle of Grolsch, and you're like, oh, I'll never like this. It was
Yeah,
literally like that. It was horrific. Um,
well, that's
and I
good to
was
hear.
just curious because I'd been
Mm,
wondering if my palate had changed.
mm.
And that was because of Budweiser, because I used to hate Budweiser. Um,
That's a very sweet beer. That is
but the thing is,
very, very
recently
sweet.
I've had a couple, and I've just been like, this is delicious. And it's like, what the
Alcohol free or the full fat one?
alcohol free,
I was going to
and I've
say,
really enjoyed them.
yeah.
And it really shocked me, which is why I was
To
like,
be
right,
fair, I don't think I knew they did an alcohol free one. Is this a
yeah.
new?
It's been about, I think there were a couple of them. There were two different versions that they did, and it was, one was like silver writing and one was red. I might have this completely wrong, but whichever one was in the
Now.
supermarkets was terrible. Um,
Oh, okay.
but recently I've really enjoyed it, and I think it's just that my palate's changed.
Yeah,
But
I'm just googling it because I want to see whether I'm just being silly or whether I've not seen it before.
I mean, Bud Lime is fantastic.
Oh no, I did know that. Yeah, I'm being very stupid. Yeah.
No, it was just, it shocked me that it was good,
Hmm.
which it's also how you know that I'm not just chatting nonsense about hating Heineken, because if I'll defend Budweiser, then there's no depths I won't sink to.
Well, I imagine Budweiser, they probably have a never-ending pot of money. So I
Yeah.
would imagine they would have bought a reverse osmosis machine
Hmm.
instead. So I guess for those that listening that don't know what that is basically just something that takes the alcohol out. So they would just brew a normal Budweiser, then smash it through that. And that's what actually Wiper and True do. They've actually bought their own reverse osmosis machine, so they do that for their
Oh.
Kaleidoscope alcohol-free, and their Tomorrow lager.
Yes, I think you've got
So
that
that might
right.
be why it tastes so good. That's like the primo sort of way to sort of get all of those beautiful tastes kind of coming through from,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just taking the alcohol out. So
And that
that might be mine.
that explains why sometimes, and this isn't a slight on White Burn True, but sometimes it's got that kind of cidery taste to it that's very similar to Budweiser. So in most podcasts, this would be the point where we stop and talk about our sponsors. I'm not going to do that because I don't have any sponsors, because nobody likes me. Instead, what I'm going to talk to you about is a thing called acetaldehyde. Now, this is a liquid or a gas that's found in some beers, and Budweiser put it into their beers deliberately to give you a kind of crisp flavour, but it can sometimes be confused with a kind of appley or cidery taste. Yes, I did have to Google that after the episode because I forgot the name of it, but we'll get back to it now, shall we?
Yeah. Once you remember, let me know.
Yeah, I'm going to have to Google that myself in a minute. What do you think will happen in the next kind of 5 years with the industry? Obviously, we've discussed alcohol-free on draft. Do you think that's the way that things need to go?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I'd like there's options, but there's not enough options.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and as I said, I think the way it's going to go is you're just going to see more and more options on draft, as in not just one. You're going to see many. You're going to definitely see more craft breweries that are alcohol free popping up. I mean, I was surprised. It was really, I kind of felt for a while it was just ourselves and Mash Gang that were like the alcohol free craft breweries kind of
Yep.
going, until very recently when We Can Be Friends popped up.
Yes.
I was just really surprised that there hadn't been more that were started. There obviously were ones that have started, but again, it was kind of, they were quite polished and not, they kind of came into the scene already quite kind of looking like quite macro
Mm-hmm.
from the start. I mean, with the exception of like, you've got other ones like Function with Zoe, who's kind of going along these sort of mushroom adaptogenic sort of stuff.
Yes.
Um, you'll see a lot more of those. And I'd like to think, as we just chatted about, we'll probably see a lot more alcohol-free collabs. I'd
Mm-hmm.
love if there was, there was more of a willingness to go to an industrial estate for a alcohol-free tap room. Although I don't know whether that'll be 5 years. It might be a little bit longer.
I hope not. That's the
I
world I want to live in.
know Nirvana have their own tap room. Lower have just opened another
Mm-hmm.
one. Um, they've just opened a one in like a shipping container somewhere in
Okay.
London. They love a shipping container in London, don't they?
Yeah, they really do.
In there. Yeah, so they've says that. I suppose Lower a bit crafty, but they're doing it in like 330 ml can
Mm-hmm.
sizes. But yeah, that's kind of where I see it going, and just I guess people will be more and more accepting of higher price points, and well, I guess everyone should just get used to it, because whether we wanted to or not, we voted Brexit, and that is one of the reasons why things are getting so expensive.
Yes,
But
it's a
that's for
shock,
another
isn't it? That
podcast.
it's almost as if you were warned from the start.
Yeah, well, yeah. Sober Boozer does
Does
politics.
Brexit? Yeah,
Yeah.
badly.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I think yeah, there'll be more acceptance of price points.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we're just definitely going to see more breweries opening up. I wouldn't be surprised if we'll see more even just this year. So I'm obviously, as you know, because you've interviewed him, but Sam from We Can Be Friends obviously had a full fat brewery at 1 Mile End,
Mhm.
um, which were amazing. I didn't even realise they'd shut down, actually, to be fair.
No, I had no idea that had happened, and then I
Yeah,
didn't
but
know that it was the same person, and then it was
we're
like,
seeing that a lot at
yeah,
the moment, aren't we? There's a huge strain on breweries in general, which
yes,
we're quite lucky that we went along a similar business model to Mash Game, where we're contract brewers, so we have no physical premises.
hmm
We can literally just concentrate on developing the beers
yeah,
and the customer base. Um, and there's no sort of worry about overheads. We know exactly this much is going to cost our beer for our beers, and that's it, and we can work from there. So in a way, we're quite lucky in the fact that we can shrink and expand
Yeah.
according
Yeah, of course.
without it being catastrophic to our business.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I mean, obviously we've seen so many breweries almost go under. Like I was surprised that North Brewing went into administration. I think in the neighbour, then they were bought out. Same with Purity. I was surprised about that as well.
Yeah, that obviously being a kind of a local lad, the Purity buyout was shocking. It was like,
Yeah.
what's happened here?
Yeah.
Because it seemed to come from nowhere. I mean, I'm not very up to date with Purity because I don't like their alcohol-free offering, and it really upset me because I used to love Purity.
Yeah.
But you're right, the hospitality industry as a whole, I think, has taken a real battering.
Yeah, big old kicking, mate. Yeah,
which
absolutely.
is outrageous because during lockdown, it was like the one thing that people were really craving and really couldn't wait to go back to.
And they just didn't have any money to do it.
That's the thing, isn't it?
Once they were allowed.
That's the thing. What?
Luckily, we all took a mortgage break for 10 months and doubled up our mortgages.
Yeah, thanks, Rishi.
Yeah,
thank you, Rishi.
I was actually in that little pot of people that didn't get any furlough payment.
Yeah, yes.
Nothing.
No, I had to go straight through.
I'd left my job and was just starting doing some freelance bits.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally had a contract ready with someone to be signed on Monday to start full time with them, and then the Friday before that,
that's when Boris did his whole. We need you to
shut down, gone, and then I was like, oh, they didn't get. I'm not going to get any furlough. He'll sort it. I'm sure he'll sort it. Just every single announcement. No, that's not me. No, that's not me. No, right, okay.
It was absolutely wild, wasn't it? Like, what a time to be alive.
Yeah, very bizarre.
Outrageous.
But silver linings, gave us a lot of time, Dave and I, to really sort of get into setting up Low Tide at that time.
Yeah.
And sort of getting into the nitty-gritty and designing it and designing the beers and such. So
yeah, I think a lot of kind of creative projects did emerge from lockdown, and like different like passion projects, as we discussed earlier, kind of came out of it, and kind of some of them have blossomed into beautiful flowers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love it. I love this flower that's blossomed.
How do you want the next couple of years to go for Below Brew Co? Obviously within reason, because I mean we'd want it to explode and be a worldwide brand, of course, but within kind of.
But we're so would we. It's we at the moment we're really concentrating on developing the UK market. We're still massively open to exporting to overseas, but it's not something we're really sort of pushing. We export at the moment to Canada, Finland, Austria, Switzerland, France, Holland, Northern Ireland. But we're really concentrating on the UK. We're sort of developing a sales team at the moment. Well, I say team, it's essentially myself and another guy. And just really honing in our core range, making them the best they possibly can be, really getting them great into pints. We're doing lots and lots of research at the moment in sort of improving body that we're at. One that's just come out fantastic, which we're going to be sort of moving forward into all our beers as well. We're also looking at really fancy natural stuff that removes pasteurization from the process as well,
that's interesting.
Which is great. It's I think the 5 years is going to be a lot of hard work, a lot of pushing into as many places as we can, because that's what we want to do. We want to get our beers out there. We want to get our beers to people so they can enjoy them. Really developing our team and developing our customer base and sort of pushing Below Brew Co as much as we can, and just absolutely going for it, basically. if we spread into America, then great. But it's not. We're not really sort of into doing yet the business model that Mash Gang are doing, for instance, with brewing in Australia and America and stuff. I mean, America is certainly a great thing, because I'm pretty certain I could count on one hand how many alcohol-free breweries there are there in comparison to their size.
Yeah, it's for such a big country. It doesn't feel like there's a lot, but then I don't know if it's just because there's breweries over there that are just doing American stuff, and there's kind of a disconnect between it coming across to the UK and vice versa. But I think in the next few years we'll certainly find out. I really look forward to seeing how Below Brew Co continues to grow, because this is a continuation of Low Tide, of course, and a new chapter, absolutely. And it's really exciting, I think, for the whole industry, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Thank you very much for coming and talking to me. I hope that it gets less grey for you. It's grey for me now, so
it has now. It is now blue sky.
You've taken my weather, you bastard.
Well, thank you for it, because it looks amazing.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Sober Boozers Club podcast. My name is Ben Gibbs. You can find me at Sober Boozers Club. You can find Rob and Below Brew Co on their website. That's belowbrewco.com. They've just launched, they've just dropped their new core range, and it's all fantastic. If you've had a Low Tide brew in the past, it's really no different. It's just a different name. For now, thank you again for listening. I will catch you very, very soon.